Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for the Avengers Infinity Wars. This will be a full spoilers review, so I'll have to get into spoilers right away. So if you have not seen this movie, do not, just don't watch this video. This is for those who have seen the movie, because I'm getting full on into some pretty hefty, heavy spoilers. So, all up in them spoilers, because here's the thing, like usually, see, I wasn't planning on doing a review for this movie, but sometimes when I go and see a movie, I really want to talk about it, so I go on and talk about it, but usually I do that in the form of a live video with a spoiler-free video. However, in this case, I can't talk about this movie. There's no point in me doing a spoiler-free video because I can't talk about what I want to talk about spoiler-free. In order to get off my chest what I want to get off my chest, what I really want to get into this movie, I have to go full on spoilers. And that's why this isn't a live chat too, because even if I put spoilers in the title, I know some people will never say, oh look, Mark's live, and go join the chat, and then not realizing I'm just going to spoil a bunch of shit for them. So that's why I'm pre-recording it too, so you can leave your comments in this section, go all up in the spoilers, because this is a spoiler video, so anyone watching this haven't seen the movie, you've been incredibly warned, so no excuses. Anyway, I really want to get into this movie because I liked it, but I did not like it as much as a lot of the critics are saying, which, I don't know, isn't too surprising, because most of the critics I watch are like YouTube channels that are Marvel fanboys or comic book fanboys and stuff like that, and they're usually like, oh, got such a hard-on for Marvel, which, don't get me wrong, I'm into Marvel too. I like the Marvel movies, just not as much as they did. And this movie was directed by the Russo brothers, so in their last movie was Captain America Civil War, which I experienced the sort of same thing, but actually to a higher degree, where everyone was just crazy about that movie, and I thought it was okay. Looking back on it, like, I gave Civil War a 7 out of 10, but I think I was being too generous. I think now I give it like a 5 out of 10. It just had way too many flaws, but I'm not going to get into that here, because I'm not here to talk about Civil War. I'm here to talk about Infinity Wars, but Civil War is also directed by the Russo brothers, so that had me a bit worried that some of the flaws would carry on over into this film. And some of them did, but not to a large degree, because the Russo brothers, of course, also did Winter Soldier, which is my second favorite, formerly my favorite before Thor Ragnarok came out, but now it's my second favorite Marvel movie. So don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on the Russo brothers, it's just they really disappointed me with Civil War. And so I was worried that perhaps some of those flaws, now some of them do, but the main issue I had with Civil War was a convoluted villain. And luckily, that didn't carry over into Infinity War. There's not a convoluted, unbelievable story with the villain having this plot that's totally convoluted and unrealistic and unbelievable, and I don't buy it for a second. I don't care how much fan-splaining. And, you know, Screen Junkies did a video, like, that I love, that was totally calling out the Zemo plot from Civil War, and there was so much fucking fan-splaining. Oh, you don't understand, they explain. No, they don't. That is the worst, biggest plot hole, most convoluted bullshit villain. Anyway, off topic. I'm here to talk about Infinity War. And the thing is, I hear so much, all the critics and so many people, YouTubers, they're sort of got their head up Thanos' ass. And talking about, like, I see videos like, is Thanos the best MCU villain ever? And so many people like, this film works because of Thanos. Thanos is awesome. Thanos is great. Love Thanos, 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 Thanos. Please marry me, Thanos. I didn't hate him. That's what I'll say. He didn't suck. He's not one of the worst Marvel villains. That would be Zemo. Anyway. But he's not even, among the worst. Like, he's fine. He's okay. I just don't think he's all that. He's not like what everyone else is making him out to be, this great sort of, oh, he's such a great villain. My main issue with Thanos, like, they really tried. They tried so hard to give him a backstory, to give him character. They're like, no, he's not just this big purple monster like you see in the DC movies. He's got a motivation. He's got reason. And I'll give him A for effort. For really trying to flesh out this character. But did they? Kind of. I mean, as I said, better than a lot of Marvel villains. Most Marvel villains didn't even try to flesh them out. They're just this evil blob going, oh, I'm evil. At least they tried with Thanos. I'll give him that. But best Marvel villain? Not by a long shot. For me, that would be Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, which I would actually put in my top 5 favorite Marvel films. Because, and the thing I love about Vulture, and especially he's a good comparison to Thanos, because the thing about Vulture is he's just some guy. He doesn't have powers. He can't snap his fingers and kill half the universe. He's just some random dude trying to make some money. But the way... So, my whole point is you don't have to have the villain be like this super-powered, unstoppable, killing half the universe in order to make him menacing. Because he was... Michael Keaton, again, amazing actor, but he was incredibly menacing in that film, and he's just some random dude, and his powers actually sucked. He wasn't even that good at being a criminal, but that's not what made him a great villain. What made him a great villain was you could understand his motivations, whereas Thanos, I think his motivations are a bit paper thin. I mean, they did try to, no, don't you understand? Like, he was in this world that was overpopulated, so his whole thing is like he thinks he's doing good by wiping out half the population. Okay, I mean, I kind of get that, but the Vulture's motivations of, you know, just trying to get by and being screwed by the economy and having that sour, that's something I can relate to. That's something I can get behind. And he was totally menacing to Spider-Man, even though it's just some 16-year-old kid in the you know, car when he's driving him to the prom. That, to me, was a hell of a lot more powerful than anything that Thanos did in this film. And my second favorite Marvel villain would be Killmonger from Black Panther, which I didn't think Black Panther was quite as good as a lot of people were saying, but I did really enjoy it because of the villain. Now, Killmonger was kind of similar to Vulture, where they gave him really strong motivation. They didn't do as good of a job fleshing out the character, in my opinion. He felt a little kind of like just a generic, oh, I'm evil, but kind of just a little bit. So they could have fleshed him out more, but you totally buy his motivations and you feel for him, you relate to him, you understand him, just like Vulture. With Thanos, he's pretty much unrelatable, and you know, they try to make him relatable, but in the end he is a big blue, you know, purple monster who has the power to kill everyone, and you know, he's good for that, but he's still that, if you know what I'm saying. And the other issue I have with him is the Superman problem. It's the Superman problem where he's too powerful. And when you have a villain or a hero, in this case a villain, that is way too powerful, it kind of makes me tune out. It makes me, especially like having the Infinity Stones, like really, he had that stone of reality, all else he had to do is snap his finger and people turn into mush. I mean, why doesn't he just do that for everyone? Why? And how come Drax and freaking Mantis got to get put back together after he left? Isn't that he controls reality? He can make people see what he wants. Why is he bothering doing anything? He can just instantly snap his fingers and win and get the other stones. It makes him too powerful to be believable. And of course he has the time stone. And then, oh, they destroy the stone, but he just goes back in time and brings the stone back together. That... Why doesn't he just go back in time and have it so he had all the stones to begin with in the first place? It's just unbelievable. It's too powerful. And plus, like, even before, even leaving these stones out, like, he kicks the Hulk's ass, and he has all these, like, little minion thingies that are going everywhere. And they pull him off, he's unstoppable. That makes him uninteresting. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how much backstory you try to give him. That makes him an unbelievable, uninteresting story. And there's a lot of people saying, like, pointing out, like, if Thanos' whole thing is that he wants people to thrive, why doesn't he snap his fingers because he killed people so they're because there's not enough resources to go around. So if you kill the people and those people will thrive, why doesn't he snap his fingers and create infinite number of resources? If these stones are that powerful, he can control reality. You know, and some people are saying, oh, don't think about that too hard. But no. These are inherent plot holes. And plus, it's just it's part of the issue, which is he's too powerful. That's the overwhelming issue problem with this villain. He's another stepping wolf. He's another, Ares, whatever his name was, from Wonder Woman. He's just too powerful to be interesting, to be dynamic. It's the Superman problem. You make a character totally unstoppable, totally flawless, and they did that because he wins, which I'll get more into. Then he's not interesting. Sorry. He's just not. Yeah, and the other thing is he has all these minions, and all of his minions are throwaway. I love Carrie Coon. It took me a while to recognize her from The Leftovers, of course, and she was in Fargo, which I haven't seen yet. She's been popped up in a few movies like The Post, but I was like, her voice sounds familiar. It's hard to recognize her with all that blue makeup and CGI crap. But it's weird seeing her play that kind of character. But those are throwaway villains. Like, everyone's praising that, turnip head looking dude who's like, oh, you can thank your stars that Thanos is killing you. You should be thankful, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he wasn't horrible. I mean, that was kind of interesting. But he still felt throwaway. Like, and those other strong dudes, whatever, they're all throwaway. All of his minions were throwaway, Marvel villains that we've seen a billion times before that weren't interesting at all. I'm sorry. I'm probably being more negative. But anyway, haven't even gotten to my biggest issue with this film, and that is the ending. It's now all up in the spoilers. It's a cliffhanger ending. I've heard someone say, oh, it's not a cliffhanger ending because we see Thanos, on the planet smiling and he's done. It's a fucking cliffhanger. Even if you leave aside the production knowledge that we all have, we know there's going to be Guardians 3, we know there's going to be Superman 2, Spider-Man 2, sorry. Even if you leave that aside, you can leave aside the fact that, Black Panther just made them billions of dollars. There's no fucking way in this God's green earth they're going to kill him off. Leave all that aside. There's no way they're going to let this stand. That half the population is going to die and Thanos is going to win. Plus, they've already established time. Like, the way they established that Thanos could just go back in time and make the stone come back into existence. They've already laid the groundwork, made it pretty fucking obvious that all this is going to be on. And I know a lot of people are like praising this ending of like has unique, has risky, has this is groundbreaking. We haven't seen anything like this before. Not really. It's not risky at all. It's because it's all going to be undone anyway, and we know this, and that really deflates all of the risk or the pizzazz or uniqueness out of it, and it makes it gimmicky, to be perfectly frank. And see, the thing is, and I'll get into more of this later, all the flaws that a lot of these critics are saying have with the movie, I disagree with them. I think they're fine. I'll get more into the positives of this film. I think they're wrong about that. But I think this is the biggest flaw. And it reminds me a lot of The Walking Dead Season 6 finale. And if you've seen my videos on that, where I was basically yelling a string of F words repeatedly, you know how I felt about that. To me, and don't get me wrong though, I'm not saying this is as bad as that, because nothing can be as bad as the Walking Dead Season 6 finale. That is by far the world's worst cliffhanger in all of existence, and it will always be. But the fact that this actually reminds me of that not a good thing. Even though it's nowhere near as bad, it has that same sort of feel. Because the thing is, I love this movie. I was really enjoying this movie, despite the stuff I said about Thanos and throwaway villains. Still a great movie. I still was really into it until that ending, and that ending pissed me off. Because I knew going into this movie that this was a part 1 of 2. Even though they don't title that way. Originally they titled Infinity War 1 and 2, but they changed the title for some reason, whatever. But it's basically, I knew Avengers 4 would be the conclusion and this is the setup. I knew that. But I was really hoping that there would be some sense of self-contained in this film. And I don't think there was. Maybe some people will say, oh, there was, but I totally don't. I totally don't think this is self-contained at all. I think it was a major cliffhanger where it doesn't have any conclusion that I was hoping for. Now, I know inevitably, and this happens all the fucking time, people will bring up The Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back was a self-contained film. Yes, it did have a cliffhanger, but it was nowhere near as open-ended as this cliffhanger. And the reason, and it is a cliffhanger, make no mistake, because they set it up, they make it clear, even forgetting the existential knowledge, which makes it even more fucking clear, that this is all going to be undone. This is all going to be changed. This is not going to stand. They're not just going to let Thanos win. I mean, that's fucking obvious. I mean, they may trick the uninitiated or the younger audience who, isn't wise to this kind of gimmick, but that is the case. It is very obvious that is the case. So it's a lot more open-ended than fucking Empire Strikes Back, so don't even bring that up. Empire, it's kind of like when the Walking Dead finale, people brought up the Best of Both Worlds. So, why do you hate cliffhangers? Best of Both Worlds was a cliffhanger, and that was good. Yeah, but you're talking about a bad cliffhanger and a good cliffhanger, and you can't really see it because it's a straw man argument that, oh, you just hate it because it's a cliffhanger. No, I don't just hate it because it's a cliffhanger. I hate it because it's a bad cliffhanger, and there's a huge difference, and it's the same thing here with Infinity Wars. Now, remember what I said, it's not as bad as The Walking Dead cliffhanger, because nothing can be. So I wouldn't say this is a bad cliffhanger, kind of a bad cliffhanger. It's just, it makes the movie too gimmicky, too not self-contained, too dependent on future material. And you guarantee the ending is trying to, like, I've heard some people have this interpretation that they felt the ending was definitive. Not at all, not in the least. What the ending was is getting people more excited to see future stuff. It's all about future stuff, and that's what I didn't like about The Walking Dead. That's what reminds me. It was a gimmick instead of paying attention to this one story and telling a good self-contained story, they focus more on getting you more interested in what's coming next. Because you know that all these people aren't going to remain dead, especially because of the people that they chose. When you know they're not going to remain dead, so it gets you more interested to see how they're going to get out of it. And the fact that we know that this film is going to be undone makes it kind of pointless. It does, and that's always been the issue with some of these time travel stuff. It's very hard to get it right, because if you, like the rebooting of Fringe is the worst example I can think of that, where they totally changed the timeline. It's like, well, why the fuck do I even care about anything that came before if it just got erased? And it's gonna, I'm making assumptions here, but they could find some other way to solve the issue. But and I'm not gonna say it's going to. What they do in the next film will not change my opinion of this film, even if I'm wrong and whatever. But it still won't change the fact that this film is too dependent on stuff that comes after it and is not as self-contained as I was hoping it would be. Like a good cliffhanger, like Best of Both Worlds Part 1, Empire Strikes Back, a good cliffhanger will be self-contained, but leave you on what happens next, whereas I felt this wasn't self-contained. Here's a huge issue. Like, I can't believe other people aren't complaining about this. I spent a half an hour watching Thor and Peter Dinklage, who is, by the way, playing, like, he was putting on his Tyrion voice. And anyone else noticed that? He was, like, playing Tyrion, but has this magical dwarf. But anyway, so we got huge Tyrion and the rabbit and Tree and Thor spending like a half an hour making this hammer. And he goes to the hammer and he's like, he has this huge, like, big show, and his rainbow comes down and kills Thanos. And Thanos is just like, well, you should have cut my head. Bam, I win. That pissed me off, because what's the fucking point? I want my fucking half an hour of my life back. Why did I waste all that time watching him make this stupid hammer just to go in and fuck it up and be like a MacGuffin? He was basically a fake out. It's like, he's Thor, he's gonna win, he's gonna kill. Just kidding, Thanos still wins. Alright, now let me get into the issues I had with Civil War that I thought carried over to this film. And that's mainly the Russo brothers seem to have some strange ideas on how people affected by grief react. This was my issue with Civil War, when Iron Man attacked Bucky and when Crazy tried to kill Captain America in order to get the Bucky, when it was very fucking obvious that Bucky was just a tool that somebody else used to kill his parents, that he wasn't responsible, but Iron Man didn't care. And I've already heard people make excuses. I'm sorry, under no circumstances is that justifiable. And I think and so that is what they carried over into this film with the thing with Star-Lord. The Russo brothers seem to think that you just lose all reason when you're grief-stricken and you want to hurt the person who caused you that grief. But here's the thing. You might say, I haven't been in that situation before. But everyone knows what grief feels like. And everyone has situations where they want to lash out at people that hurt them. So it's a relatable thing. But when you want to lash out and you're totally grieving and you're not thinking straight, you want to hurt the person that hurt you. That's the key. So, by Star-Lord hitting Thanos, he's not hurting him. He's helping him win. Now, I know the excuse that's coming. Well, he just can't see reason when you're that angry. No, I'm sorry. I'm calling major bullshit on that. When you're that angry, you want to hurt the person who hurt you more than anything else. And you can't see reason enough to tell the difference between hurting them and helping them. And if punching them in the face is going to help them, then you're not going to punch them in the face. You're going to help the others, strap them down so they can take the glove off. Because you know, doesn't matter how grief-stricken you are, how angry you are, how blood is boiling in that moment, you still do not lose the capacity for intellectual thought. You still know that your top priority is to hurt that person. So you are going to do the thing that will hurt that person the most. And the fact that your blood is boiling and you're angry and you want to lash out, it makes that even more true. It motivates you even more to want to hurt that person. So you're going to do the thing that's going to hurt them the most, which in this case is not punching Thanos in the face. It's helping the others to take the stone off so you can kill him, which is his ultimate goal. So I'm sorry, I don't buy that. It's total horseshit. That was the moment that really threw me out of it. And it's the same thing in Civil War with, Iron Man would want to kill the people who killed his parents, not the tool that they used to kill his parents with. It's like, it's like going after the gun that killed. Someone used a gun to kill my mother, so here, get gun. Fuck you, gun. No, you're going to go after the person who's wielding the gun. And it's the same thing. with Star-Lord. So that really irritated me. And also, I kind of talked about this, the whole thing about the Scarlet Witch thing, and how he just uses the, time stone to go back in time and undo it. It's just, come on. I mean, that makes him too powerful. That takes out all sort of all the interest out of it. And the fact that Thor was too dumb to actually hit him in the head again, it was just like, it irritated me. It kind of get a bit convoluted. It kind of had that Civil War feeling to that, but not to as bad of a degree. Now, so I'll talk about who died. It was Spider-Man died. We know there's going to be a Spider-Man 2. All the Guardians except Rocket died. We know that there's going to be Guardians 3. And Black Panther died. No, there's no way God's green earth and they're not after how much money. Now, I've heard some people say, well, maybe they'll just have Miles Morales be Spider-Man, and maybe they'll have this other person take over as Black Panther, and maybe we'll get new Guardians. Now, no, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. In fact, they kind of put it in a way, and some people have pointed this out, where the people who survived were basically the original Avengers, like Hulk and Thor, and I think Black Widow survived, and Iron Man. So it's like the people who are likely to die survive. So that has some people thinking that in the next movie it's going to be a reversal. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a full reversal that everyone who survived will die, because Rocket's not going to die. And there's a few other, like can't remember the names, but all the characters in Wakanda, they're not going to die, and they survived and stuff like that. So I don't think it's gonna, and I don't think what's his name? War Machine. He's not gonna die because he needs to take over for Tony Stark when he dies. So I don't think it's gonna be a full reversal like that. But I mean, there could be a reason why they're setting him up. Now, there's another issue I had, but this issue could be very easily relieved and actually turned into a positive, and I am aware of that. Is why did Doctor Strange give the stone to Thanos to save Iron Man's life? That really irritated me at first until I thought about it, because that of course makes no sense. Because why is he worried about saving Iron Man's life if it means half the world's universe, population is going to die? And he even said that to begin with. He said that at the start. It's like, well, if I have to let you or the kid die, I'm going to. You're not what's important. The stone is. And so, I mean, they kind of try to tie it into the whole thing about what they were saying earlier about vision, about how, it's one person is more important. It's like the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. And I think that's how they try to play it off. But if that's the case, then I'm going to say this total horseshit. That's bullshit. Doctor Strange just let Thanos win, because without that time stone, he wouldn't have won. But what I think it is, and if this turns out not to be the case and I'm wrong, then this will suck. But if it is the case, then it's totally fine. It's totally justifiable. So what I think it is that Doctor Strange, how he was sitting there and was going, and he was looking at all of the possible outcomes of with the fight, and he said, all right, there's one outcome where we win. So I think the conclusion here is the outcome that he saw where they win starts with Thanos winning. So with them losing, basically. They need to lose first in order to win. So that to me would explain why he gave the stone to Thanos, because he knew that was their only way to win. That by losing, that's their only way to win. So it had more to do with he knew from looking in the future that this is their only way to defeat Thanos in the long run. And that's why he did it. Which I think is the case. I think, again, I don't think it would totally suck if it's not the case. Because Otherwise, why give the stone to him? And we know that he could see into the future and see the outcomes. And when Thanos was saying, like, you're not using the most powerful tool at your disposal when they were fighting him, and he was talking about the Time Stone. It's like, Doctor Strange, why aren't you using it? I think the reason why is because he did use it, and he used it to tell what he needed to do, and he knew what he needed to do is to allow Thanos to win. Now, how could this be the case? Well, I think the post-credit scene has a lot to do with this. Now I'll get a bit more into the Captain Marvel. Because I think it's pretty obvious that, we see that Nick Fury sends a little beeper message to Captain Marvel that she gets involved, and she is going to ultimately defeat Thanos and save everyone. And so the reason why they needed to let Thanos win is because the only way to get her involved is to have Thanos win first. And so Nick Fury will call her in the beeper, and then she'll get involved. Otherwise, she wouldn't get involved, and they'd lose. So they're going to find a way to undo all this in time. And it's been suggested that the Ant-Man movie will deal a bit with time travel, like, because they go into the subatomic thingy, and so they're going to play a factor in undoing all this. Now, because the next movies coming out, Marvel movies that are playing, Ant-Man and Wasp is coming out in a few months, and Captain Marvel is coming out next year, like spring, and then Avengers 4 next summer. So it's basically, and this is why it irritates me, it's like a cliffhanger where we have to wait a year. The equivalent is like, in the South Park, when they had like Who's Cartman's Mom, and they had like a cliffhanger, and then the next season started, and they're like, now for the conclusion of who Cartman's mom is, psych, we're trolling you, and they just did like this half-hour long Terrence and Phillip episode, and then everyone flipped their fucking lid. They were like, fuck you. This is the equivalent of that, because what they're doing, the Ant-Man and Wasp, is basically the Terrence and Phillip special, because it's taking place, it's been confirmed it takes place before Infinity Wars, or at least concurrent with it, because they even mentioned this film, Scott Lang's not here because he took this deal, so we're going to see his side. And it's been speculated that the Ant-Man Wasp movie will end with everyone vaporizing and what happened at Infinity Wars. Maybe. I think maybe that would be more of a post-credit thing, actually. But, yeah, so basically it's taking place before. So that's the Terrence and Phillip movie. And the Captain Marvel movie, that takes place in the 90s. So that's the equivalent of, now this is something a lot of people won't get, and a lot of people disagree with me who do get it, but The Leftovers season 1 did this like cliffhanger where Kevin was tied up and he killed Patty, and I'm spoiling it, but whatever, and it was a huge cliffhanger, and I was like, I can't wait to see what happens. The next week's episode, they went back into like a couple years, like 3 years or 4 years or however many years, and showed this like entire flashback episode. A lot of people loved it. I think it's overrated. I was really pissed off that I thought that was very poorly placed. They would have had that earlier, it's fine, but a lot of people were like, no, they had to have it there because it was setting up for the finale. Fine, set up for the finale, but do it before the cliffhanger, not in the middle of the fucking cliffhanger. That's trolling you. So that's going to be the equivalent of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is going to take place back in the 90s, and it's going to set her up, and it's going to give you a lot of important information for Avengers 4. Like, you can't probably, like, it's going to set up Avengers 4 and explain her involvement and how she's going to fix everything, and how, Nick Fury has that stupid beeper or whatever. And so basically, so that's what Marvel's doing. We're going to have to wait a year. So in between, we're going to get Terrence and Phillip, and we're going to get the Leftovers flashback episode, and then we have to wait a full year before we actually get the conclusion of this cliffhanger, and that pisses me off. I'm sorry, but it does. It pisses me off. I just don't. Yeah, of course I'm gonna watch these movies because they sucker punched me in, but I'm still not happy about it. And I'm really looking forward to Captain Marvel because I love Brie Larson. Like, after Room, one of my all-time favorite movies, I'll see anything that she's in, and I'm so, like, looking forward to see her, like, take the reins. Now, with Captain Marvel, it's said, I'd never read the Captain Marvel comics, so I'm not familiar, but apparently they say that she's Marvel's version of Superman, which doesn't have me too excited, to be honest. As I said, the Superman problem, too powerful, not interesting. But it's Brie Larson, so I'm going to go all for it anyway. But, so basically, she's going to come in and Superman her way past Thanos, and I don't know, maybe Ant-Man will help. But some way they're going to find some way to undo all this, so all these people don't die. They'll just change the timeline, so who cares about anything anyway. There are theories about this based off of the comics that involve what's-her-face, the, robot sister of Gamora, or whatever the hell her name is. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, maybe they will follow the comics, maybe not. I don't know. But anyway. So, another thing that kind of bothered me, and this is something that my friend who I saw the movie with was saying, was the Hulk was very disappointing. Like, he got his ass kicked by Thanos. And the way that the guy was like, oh, let Thanos have his fun. Like, some critics were praising that. That annoyed me. I didn't like that. And plus, like, the way, and this is another thing, a critic, like, when he was praising him, like, are you fucking kidding me? This annoyed the shit out of me. Like, every time Bruce Banner, like, tried to turn into Hulk, and Hulk's like, no! I'm just like, that pissed me off. I'm like, fuck you, just turn into a Hulk and shut up. The only way this will be okay is if this is setting up for another storyline. If there's more to this than simply the Hulk being a pussy. Sorry for that term. But anyway, there has to be more to this. Otherwise, it's bullshit. Like, I've been wanting to see them do the Grey Hulk storyline in the movies. And I hope it's leading to that. That would be amazing. If you don't know what the Grey Hulk, that's when I read the comics in the 90s, there was the Hulk was gray. So basically, he turns into like a gray Hulk, but he's like a combination of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. So he never goes back. He can't transform back into the human. He's stuck in Hulk form. But instead of being this green Hulk smash idiot monster like he was in the Thor Ragnarok, he's gray, and he is a combination of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. So he can think logically, he can act. So rather than being two separate people like they have been, especially in this film, in place of all thousands of two different people, they sort of combine and become one person. So they have the intellect of Bruce Banner and the strength of Hulk. I'd love to see that, and I hope if they're building up to that with the Hulk going, no, then great. If they're not, and maybe even if they're building up to something else, which would be interesting. But if it's just about, oh, Hulk's scared because Thanos beat him up, then fuck that. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, it was so cheesy seeing Bruce Banner in that Hulk Buster Iron Man suit. Just make him the Hulk. So they have to have a good reason for him not being the Hulk, otherwise it's bullshit. But anyway. Enough about negatives. Let me get more into the positives. Hold on one second. I'm just going to... Okay, so the thing I liked about this movie that a lot of the critics were complaining about, which I totally disagree with, and I think was actually good, was they were saying they felt that they didn't do that good of a job of showcasing all the characters or giving them all the screen time or making it, they sort of just introduced the characters too fast and brought together and didn't come together as a fully developed characters. Some of the characters didn't get their play. I could not disagree with that more. In fact, I thought I was super impressed. If there was one strength of this movie, it was the way they managed to juggle all these characters and make them all relevant and important to the story. It was amazing. And that was actually my biggest worry coming into this film, is that there's too many characters, and there's no way they'd be able to surface them all, and it would be like a big mess, like pretty much every DC movie, where there's just too many characters and they can't juggle them, and it just all blah blah blah. Now, not every character has got complete fleshed out and dynamic. Like people are complaining about Drax, and people are complaining about Scarlet Witch, or people can whoever. But the thing is, and this is something I think all the critics misunderstood about X-Men Apocalypse, which is one of my favorite comic book movies, is that I heard that same complaint. Oh, Storm wasn't doing anything. She didn't need. But the thing is, I think they totally misunderstand the concept of a good ensemble movie. Because a good ensemble movie doesn't mean that every single character, especially when you have this many, has equal play, equal screen time, equal importance. It means the ones that matter do. And the ones that are supporting characters serve their function as supporting character. And of course, they're not going to be fleshed out as much. They're not going to have as much character building or screen time. But that's the purpose that they serve. And I think most movies, ensemble movies, people take that as a granted. Like something like Lord of the Rings, like they expect some of these side characters to not be fleshed out as much, like Eomer or whoever, because they're not the main characters. But with the Marvel movies and these comic book movies, the issues comes in is that they're already familiar with these characters from other materials. Like we already know who Scarlet Witch is, we already know who Storm is, so we expect them to get more play. It's your own expectations, but if you look at the story and set those expectations aside, it serves the purpose that the story requires. It's not like these characters are underplayed because they're underplayed. They're underplaying is what's required of the story. All right, and let me put this in other terms, and this comes back to what I was saying about this being a cliffhanger. This film is kind of like an episode of a TV show. And a lot of people put this in terms. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is kind of like you have to think of it as a TV show. Where this episode is obvious, or this film, I'll call it an episode. This episode is obviously the season finale. This is the season finale because they're leaving up with the cliffhanger. It does with the show Lost, they always said, the showrunner said, when they had the season finale, it had the dual job of tying up the season and setting up for the next one. And that's exactly what this film does. And it does it really well, in my opinion. It's tying up the phase 3 or whatever, or all the previous phases, basically. The stuff with the old, Hulk, Captain America, and all this, tying it all up, but it's setting up for the next phase at the same time. It has that dual purpose. And in that way, I think it really works. And the thing is, when you watch an episode of a TV show, or like a season finale or anything, you're not every single, and especially an ensemble cast like Lost or Game of Thrones, not every single character is going to get equal play in that episode. The ones that are important to that episode's storyline will. Like, the season 3 finale of Lost, one of the best season finales of all time, Through the Looking Glass, Jack gets a lot of play. Ben gets a lot of play, but Kate doesn't really get a lot of play. She has a few moments, but she doesn't really have that much importance to the plot. Nor does Sawyer. Sawyer kind of gets his time, but it's focused more on like Hurley and Jack and Charlie and Ben, because that's what's required of the story. There are other episodes where Kate gets her play, but she wasn't that important to the story. Same with like Game of Thrones. Look at the Game of Thrones season 4 finale, another one of the best all-time season finales. Sansa wasn't even in that episode, and Sansa's a good character. She's an important character, but you're not going to complain that she didn't have her play because she wasn't necessary to that episode, what that episode was accomplishing. And it's the same thing with this film. You got to think of it as an episode of television, and so it's impossible that every single character is going to have equal play. And plus, the other thing is, and that gets into the people saying, they're just introduced too fast, which I kind of get what they're getting at, because it was like Doctor Strange is like, hi, I'm Doctor Strange, Iron Man, come with me, and all of a sudden you jump into the storyline. But if you think of it in terms of a season finale. You watch like a season finale of Lost or Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, they're not going to take the time to introduce each character in that one episode. Because you've already known who these characters are, they're just going to jump right into the story. And it's basically the same thing here, is that you have to think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a TV show. And this one in particular is not self-contained in that regard. Now, I don't think it should be. I actually think it's great that they're playing it that way, that they didn't waste time trying to, oh, this is Doctor Strange, he's this blah blah. They're just like, no, here's Doctor Strange, you know who he is because you've seen his movie, and if you haven't, go see his movie so you can learn about him. Your fault. Just like Lost finale, they're going to be like, oh, you don't know who Ben is? Well, it's your fault for missing those episodes. Go back and watch them. Same thing here, and I love that. I think it's great. I think it really works. And I'm actually, again, I was amazed at how well they actually did manage to give all their characters their different screen time. Like, the Guardians of the Galaxy appear a hell of a lot more. I was worried that they would kind of be underplayed and they would just pop up and be like, hey, we're Guardians of the Galaxy, here's some funny jokes, blah blah. But no, we get a lot of character development with them. We spend a lot of time with them. We spend a lot of time with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Captain America, and fucking Vision and Scarlet Witch. Now you go, oh, how do they spend so much time in Vision and Scarlet Witch? Those are not popular characters, but they're important to the story. You have to think of it in those terms, especially Vision's got the thingy in his head. So in those terms, I think they did an amazing job. Amazing, simply amazing of juggling all these characters. So I could not disagree the critics more who complain about this. I think they're complaining about the absolutely wrong things, in my opinion. Yeah, that's just me. But anyway, real quick, I want to get back to what I was saying about the character deaths. Because I just realized I forgot to mention Gamora, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Because I've heard the theory that everyone who died before the finger snap is dead. Dead is dead. Which I don't buy. And I've heard people specifically say that Gamora is dead. Definitely dead, not coming back. I don't buy that either. Because I just watched an interview with the director, James Gunn, of Guardians of the Galaxy. He said Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to focus more on Gamora than Star-Lord. Now, I've heard excuses. Well, maybe this is going to be a flashback. And maybe it'll focus more because it'll be a tribute to her. Bullshit! Bullshit! I'm sorry, but James Gunn would not let the Marvel Universe kill off one of his main characters, important characters, in another film. Not gonna happen. No way. And when he said she's gonna be important, he's not talking about a flashback. He's not. So I think there's no way in hell that Gamora stays dead. And since she died before the finger snap, then that's open game for everyone. That's open game for Heimdall. That's open game for Loki. It's open game for Vision. So I think they're all going to come back. I think Vision's going to come back. I think fucking Gamora's going to come back. Heimdall's going to come back. I don't know about Loki. And that's the other thing. And someone pointed this out because I totally forgot. What the hell happened to Valkyrie? She was on that ship. And yet she wasn't. She was totally just not there. And plus, I think all of those Asgardians need to, because some other people pointed out that this kind of really undermines the whole Thor Ragnarok, because the whole theme was, oh, it's the Asgardians that matter, the people that matter, not the planet. Now all the people are dead, so I think that's going to be undone too. It's not just going to be the finger snap. I think a lot of shit's going to be undone. With their time travel or whatever they're going to do, that's going to undo it. And some people are theorizing it's going to be Thanos himself because he realizes the error of his ways. I don't think so. I think it's Captain Marvel's going to come in and kick his ass. My opinion. Of course, I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, so I don't know what she's going to be like, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're setting it up for. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I know I spent more time on the negatives, but that's just because other people are pointing out the positives, so there's not much need for me to point out the positives when a lot of other people are doing that. I wanted to put my original spin on this movie, and that's it. I know it's probably a lot more negative than a lot of people would have preferred, but oh well, as I said, I still like this film. Not great. So my rating for Avengers Infinity War out of 10 is going to be a 7. Very good. Would have been a 9 up until that ending. The ending pissed me off, so it dropped it back, knocked it back 2 points. Again, it's not a 10 because Thanos is not as great as a villain as everyone's saying he is. But other than that, yeah, and that Star-Lord moment really pissed me off too. But, so, yeah, the ending not the best. And it was too gimmicky, but don't get me wrong, nowhere near as bad. Nothing can be as bad as The Walking Dead Season 6 finale, but it does kind of remind me of that a bit, which is never a good thing. So anyway, that's it for my review of the Avengers Infinity War. Please be sure to check out my channel as I do many more reviews, cover a lot of TV shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, The Expanse, which is amazing. If you're not watching that, you should be. And Babylon 5 and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.